Oh, we're live. And we're live. Welcome in, ladies. Welcome in. Just give me a minute to set this up and we are ready to go. How is everyone doing this beautiful, beautiful afternoon? Welcome in, everyone. Oh, why am I hearing myself? Welcome in, everyone. Welcome in. Who's joining me live today? We have a very, very interesting topic to talk about. Anytime I have a topic under boundaries or talking about boundaries, I get a lot of requests for it because I know it's something that every woman continues to struggle with today, even as we have a lot of information out there. So I want to share some strategies with you ladies today based on what I've been using and what I've been teaching other women to do to be able to set the appropriate boundaries in their lives. So welcome in, Yasher. Thanks for joining. Welcome in, ladies. Welcome in. I'm just going to take a sip here. Just give me a second. Okay. Much better. Okay, so this is going to be a short training, and the goal here is really for you ladies to take one thing that you can implement today in your life to improve the way that you set boundaries. Now, before I go into today's details, if this is the first time that you're seeing me, you're welcome. My name is AB, and I'm a life and leadership coach, and I help women and organizations build resilient leaders and teams. And today, we're going to be focusing on boundaries because this is one of the hiccups that a lot of people, not just women, but a lot of people are struggling with. And there's so many reasons why. I could delve into the psychology behind why, but that's not for today's topic, but I will highlight some of the things that causes us to struggle with setting boundaries with the people around us. And if you do have a corporate job, listen up. The way that you set boundaries in the corporate world is very different from the way that you would set boundaries if you had your own business or you were not working within the corporate world. Why? Because there's a different dynamics that's playing here. You don't own your time. Somebody else is paying you for your time. And so when somebody asks you to do something and they're paying you for your time, it's harder to set boundaries. And so when I see tips and tricks and videos of people saying, oh, say no, I immediately know that they either don't work in the corporate world or they've never worked in the corporate world or they don't work with people that work in the corporate world. Because it's a different ball game when you have a corporate job. And so what I'm going to be sharing to you today, ladies, is to help you, especially if you have a corporate job. How do you go about setting boundaries without putting a target on your back? Because there is a reason why a target will be on your back if you do set boundaries. And oftentimes when I'm telling women, I say, look, it's not the act of setting boundaries that's the problem. It's the how. Everything that we do, it's not the what, it's not the thing exactly, it's the way you're doing it. Why is this important? Because you're dealing with humans. Humans have a way of functioning. We have a way of relating with one another. We're social creatures. Boundaries and the concept of setting boundaries goes against that if it's not done correctly. And so what will happen is you will put a target on your back. You will get backlash. You will get pulled out. You will get sidelined. You will get all those things coming to you if you don't do it correctly. And so when I'm telling women, especially those who are, if you're in a management position, there's a way that you do it so that the people that are receiving that are able to feel like they matter, but at the same time, you still get what you want. Okay? So what am I talking about? What am I talking about here? Okay. So if you are currently in a position where you're struggling with either work boundaries or even in your personal life, And one of the biggest reasons is because you're afraid. One of the very first things that I would tell you is that when someone feels like they matter to you, when someone feels like you care about them, you understand them, you see their viewpoint, it is much easier to set boundaries. Let me repeat myself. When someone feels like you care about them, you see their viewpoint, you understand them, you see them, you hear them, it is a lot easier to set boundaries. So when you ladies are listening to videos where people are just telling you, say no, that doesn't work. In the corporate world, it does not work. You're either going to get fired or, like I said, you're going to be sidelined. It's not fun to be sidelined. So that doesn't work at all. And so what I'm telling women in the corporate world is like, well, AB, how do I do it? And I'm like, first things first, remember that you were dealing with a human being. And if you can be the kind of person that makes other people feel like you see them, you hear them, you understand them, you see their perspective, you care about them, they will subconsciously beg you to set boundaries. You're probably wondering, AB, beg me to set boundaries? Yes. Why? Because when people feel respected and heard, the friction that comes when you set boundaries is almost neutralized, because the way that you would be received will not trigger their stress response or their nervous system, or is less likely to trigger it when they hear you. Let me give you an example. So say somebody comes to you and says, I need you to get this report. They come to you at 4:30 p.m. I don't know why people do that. If you've ever done that, stop it. Okay, that's a different, right. So somebody comes to you at 4:30 and says, oh, I want this report. Your boss, your manager comes to you, I want this report done first thing in the morning. And you close by 5, for example. Now, what people would tell you to do is, yes, say no, set the boundaries, say no. That's just, do not say no. Do not say no. What you do instead is you ask questions so that it's almost like you want to understand what they really want with the request. So you show empathy. That's the simple form. Sometimes when we hear empathy, we think that it means that you agree with the person. No. You can understand someone, you can respect someone, but you don't have to agree with what they're saying. Most of the time, people don't expect you to agree with everything that they say, but they do want you to hear them out. And so if somebody comes to you and asks you, your manager, for example, is asking you to do something like that, don't say no. And don't do this either, okay? I've actually seen somebody do that. Ask a question. Oh, so it looks like getting the report first thing in the morning is really important to you. I would like to understand why. Well, senior management wants to make sure that we're getting in our metrics before so and so time, so I need time to review it. Oh, okay. Ask more questions. What exactly do you need to see before the time that senior management requires it in order for me to get it done? Oh, I need to see this. As they're talking, listen to what they're saying and listen and understand what they really want. Most of the time when people are asking for something, it goes beyond what they're saying. So what I found, this is from my experience and from working with women, is when somebody is coming to you with such a tight deadline that feels completely unreasonable, there is a why behind it. And you getting to the bottom of the why will help you and them come to a point where you can actually negotiate what it is that they're asking you for. And the only way that you can begin the process of negotiation is by hearing them out. So in the example that I gave, what usually tends to happen is, again, if somebody's doing that to you, it's two things. They're not completely clueless that they're being unreasonable. They know they're being unreasonable. But if they don't know they're being unreasonable, there's also a reason why. And so you asking questions is going to give them the clarity into seeing that they are being unreasonable with the timeline, and they walk themselves back. You're probably wondering, but Abby, this is not going to work. Oh my gosh, Abby, try it. I have used it. I continue to use it. And I'm still able to set the boundaries in my life. This not only works at work, it works in the home as well. Is me understanding the perspective of the person who's making the request and finding out what they really want behind that request. Oftentimes, like in a very recent case, I had someone, reaching out to me and asking me for something to be done in 24 hours, but the thing they were asking for would obviously take longer. And so I asked them, like, oh, okay, so what is it that you're looking to do with this thing? And they told me. I said, oh, okay. Sounds like it's really important that senior management has it. Yes. Okay. When do you really need to have the final data so that you can send it over to senior management? Well, I actually need it Friday. I just wanted to get it from you Tuesday so that I have time to pull everybody's report together and then send it over. Oh, okay. What if I get you, sounds like if I get you this part before Friday, then you should be able to make that deadline. Yeah, that would work. And boom, 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 deadline, meet the boundary set. But at the same time, give the person what they want. And that's the strategy, excuse me, ladies. That's the strategy that I've been using in all areas of my life. So before, when I started this work and I used to be overworked and couldn't say no and all that stuff, the message and the advice I was getting from professionals out there, and I don't blame them, but the advice that I was getting was just say no, just say no. What I found was it will put a target on your back if you do it the wrong way, because you're triggering people's nervous system, and when they're triggered into stress, they can't control their behavior because it's an automatic response. And most people are not conscious enough to be able to deal with that. And that's what you feel, and that's why you're afraid. But if you take a step back and you ask questions to really understand the why, what it is that they want, what do you want? And then you're able to come to a point where you negotiate with them, you will be able to set your boundaries without actually bringing or blurting out the word, you're stepping on my boundaries, you're doing this again, and stuff like that. Okay? So one key thing, one of the biggest ways or one of the biggest blocks that will stop you from using the strategy that I just taught you is if you don't manage your emotions. Next month, we're going to do a deep dive into emotional intelligence, because that's how everything starts. When somebody's becoming unreasonable to you, it's a perfectly natural response that your emotions are high. And so you start to feel things like fear and anger. When you're in that state, it's harder to even hear someone out. It's harder to be empathetic when you are stressed out, your emotions are high, you're annoyed, you're irritated, and you really just want to take this and do this. It's like, go away. It's harder. So you're going to have to learn to manage your emotions effectively so that they don't disrupt you. It is perfectly normal to feel annoyed, irritated, disgusted with requests that completely seem unreasonable and feel like people are taking advantage of you and feel like people don't care about you. It's completely normal to feel that way. However, if you come from a place where you have managed your emotions, you've released the annoyance that you have, and now you really just want to hear the person out to understand what it is that they want, hear them out to see their perspective so they at least feel like you acknowledge that they are there and they exist. If you do that, people are much more likely to pull back on their requests, or at least meet you in the middle where you're able to negotiate what you can do within the time frame that you have and what you're not able to do. And that way, you're able to enforce your boundaries. You never have to use the word. You never have to insult anyone. You never have to be disrespectful to anyone. And you've gained an ally. Now the person who you just did that for, now they're on your side, or at least you're not fighting with them. You're not destroying relationships. You're not isolating yourself. Now you've connected with that person. In the future, if you need something that is completely unreasonable within a time frame, you're in a much better position to ask, because you have shown that you are a reasonable, empathetic person, and you are the kind of person that wants to help people. However, it needs to be within the confines of your own boundaries. Okay? Any questions, ladies? This is supposed to be a short, This is supposed to be a short training. If you have any questions about boundaries, feel free to let me know or put them in the comments. Other than that, I will see you ladies next week, or maybe earlier. Who knows? Enjoy the rest of the day, ladies. Bye.